So, welcome everyone to our reading today with our special guest and Flower Song Press author, Zamna Urista-Rojas. And we're chatting with you. You are live in Germany. Is that
Yeah,
correct? All right.
Berlin.
Berlin, Germany. Great. And just so everyone knows, we've been having a conversation for the past about 35, 40 minutes before we're going live here. And I wish we were live for everyone to listen, but it's one of those where kind of let's talk before we go live just to check things out and sometimes just have great conversation, but we got to work out the kinks and stuff in the system. But we'll try to get
Yeah.
some great combo going and some reading for everyone that's on here. So just so you know, we are Flower Song Press, and our press. Let me just tell you a little bit about us. Our press nurtures essential verse from, about, and through the borderlands. But not just that, the voices are those from Latin America, the USA, and all over the world. We are literary, lyrical, boundless, and we welcome allies that understand and join in the voice of people of color and our struggle, truth, and hope. We will publish novice, emerging, and established writers of poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and children's books as well through our sister imprint, Juventud Press. We are open to submissions all year long and will make it a goal to have a rapid response to every submission. Now, Blooming Blood is available anywhere books are sold, Barnes& and Noble, Amazon, and through our press, flowersongpress.com. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Zamna Urista-Rojas, born in Calif Aslan in 1977. Um, Zamna, welcome to Flower Song Press, hermano.
How's it going? What's
Good,
up?
good, good. I feel like I know you from talking to you for a while now, and I've we had some great conversations about many things, and it's good to have you here. We haven't have been able to have a, you know, I guess meetup since you're way up there, but it's the beauty about everything that's going on right now is the being able to get together virtually, being able to connect with people from around the world through these mediums and stuff like that, and have everyone join in as well so that everyone can listen to the voices of what people are doing and writing all over the world. So I was going through your book again this morning, and something that popped up with your collection is that it seems like it's very how can I say it, it's you have a like phonemic awareness to me, of course, just being obvious, phonemic awareness is a conscious awareness that spoken words consist of sounds, right? So when putting your words on paper, how true is this and how did you translate it to the page?
Oh, yeah, that's tricky. I gotta explain it maybe a different way. Um, like for the most part, I never felt like I was writing to begin with. O sea, um, over the 10 years that I was collecting these things I was writing, I wasn't aware that I was writing. Um, what I was doing was just expressing on paper. And a lot of times I didn't even realize I was doing that. I just things fell out of me. And that's why maybe someone would find these things so abstract, no, because it wasn't coming from a mental place. It was coming from a thought. It wasn't coming like thought out or like designed. Everything was falling out from an emotional world, from a different plane. You understand? So that's how I got to paper. It just it did itself. It happened itself. You know, kind of like I didn't even know I was writing this. I didn't know till it was just sitting there, all this stuff there, and And one time I pulled it out and, hey, look at all this stuff I got. And someone told me, hey, well, that's actually poetry, that's actually writing. Like, wow, you know, I thought it was kind of like hieroglyphics on my emotional spiritual wall, you know, and it turns out it's something that maybe I can share with people. So that's nice. It's a new thing for me.
And the thing is that you're not just a writer. You're an artist in many ways. What different types of um, forms of art do you create? You're a musician, but how do those translate into your writing, and which one is more dominant in your life, and how does it affect your writing?
Yeah, well, um, for the last 20 years, I've been a professional guitarist. I play for dancers and singers and solo guitar also. And like like the world, like we were talking before we went live, like it's a different world. That when you need to immerse yourself in the world when you're being creative, and when I'm making music, doing music, I'm completely immersed in that, and so maybe that's why writing kind of came natural in a way, because it's almost the same thing. It's about, for me at least, it's just about being immersed into that part of yourself or the world around you, and that's where you kind of you wade through the water and pick up the gifts that you find there, and then you bring it back into this plane, what we call the normal world, and it becomes, with the guitar, with music, it becomes, live music on stage or recordings, and the things I brought back, um, in terms of emotions and such, and my understanding of the world became this poetry. It's kind of like it's for me. It's the same world. It's that world you jump into, and yeah, it's really the same. When I make compose music, I don't think. I feel through it. I feel through it, and I listen. And that's the same thing with writing. I don't think. I feel and listen, and just let it make itself. You know. Although with music, it has to be in rhythm. So afterwards, I have to make sure everything's in rhythm, and that's a bit different. I feel with writing, you're freer. No, I feel more free.
But in a way, it's the same, where you go back to writing and you do the editing, you know unless you have someone that'll do it for you. Then you just put it out there and say, this is what I got. Polish it up. As a musician, or like a composer, like the way you are, is that you go back and you fine tune it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's got its you know sort of similarities, right?
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
you said something that really struck a chord. you know um you said something about, well, let me translate it. I guess I'll translate it in what I'm going to say. And when reading other people's work, and sometimes people explain to you what they think of your writings, you sometimes, you know you sometimes just say, oh, okay, I didn't know that my writing did that, but I'm gonna say it because this is what I got from you. But you not only love, but I feel like you respect silence, because your poems, they have a truth, in a wandering spirit to them. They feel like gypsy letters that go unwritten, you know, um, and you travel often. So take us through your travels from your childhood to adulthood,
Ooh,
and tell us if you're settled now.
Andale. That's a good that's a good question, man. I'll try not to take too long on it because since I was born, we were moving around. I'm and that's how I ended up here. Because I just I was I was brought up moving around. So as I got into my teens, I couldn't just sit still where I was. I had to, it's like something always, it was already in me to keep on going. So I was born in San Diego, right? And the majority of our family was in Tijuana. So we grew up right there on the border, you know, back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Even before I spoke English, I was speaking Spanish with my abuelos in Tijuana, you know? And then as we went to American schools, we started losing the Spanish. And we started moving away from, you know, we moved from San Diego to Colorado. Then we went back to Califas, and then we were there for a long time. And then I started moving around on my own. You know, I'd trip on my own to Tijuana. I'd stay with my family months at a time. And then I went to Alaska a couple of times to go working. And then I started, you know, I went up to Spain. I was in Spain for 10 years, learning the guitar. And then after that, I moved up here to Germany, to Berlin. And during that time, as soon as I came to Europe, as I was studying the guitar, people started asking me to work with the guitar, which I had never even thought about doing. The guitar for me served as you could say medicine. It was healing me. The music, I discovered that music was healing me. It gave me some way to focus and deal with my problems, my own personal problems. And so I was obsessed about it because it was the only thing helping me in my life, you know? And eventually people started like, hey, well, can you come play with us here? And it started taking me all over Europe. All of a sudden they're flying me here and there and getting paid well, you know, doing small tours and, you know, and so that's how I moved around a lot in Europe. But I was based in Sevilla in Spain. And then I came over to Germany and I worked my ass off here. So many concerts and all over Germany and still from here flying over places too. And that's basically, that's how I've been tripping around. It's just, you know, one thing led into the other. And
Right.
I was really lucky. Yeah, I had a lot of good adventures.
So what's it like to be a Chicano in Europe?
Yeah, that's the question I ask myself all the time. Like, you know, sometimes I'm walking down the street in Berlin, I'm like, what the, what do you, you know, like how can this be? Like, you know, um, you know that tiger. Check this out. You know that tiger that's on the news running loose in, where is that? There's a tiger on the loose in Houston, or where is that? Yeah. Oh, I lost your audio.
Yeah, somewhere in Texas. Yeah, there was a tiger loose.
Yeah. Well, I'm that same tiger, but over here. Like, I don't belong. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And why do you think you don't belong?
um, I maybe I think I don't belong because there's not more Chicanos here. You know, people who have maybe life experiences uh, similar to mine. Um, I haven't encountered a lot, and if they are here, they're just passing through. So like people who are on the long term, not really a lot. And you know, and the whole Chicano experience as is very special, no? Like you know, because there's a lots of Mexicanos and lots of people from South America here, and so on, and but their experiences are different, from ours as Chicanos, no? Because obviously because um, we were multicultural and since we grew up in the States, you know, and so uh, like right away, if I ever run into a Chicano, it's just like, oh man, I gotta talk to you, man. You know, and right away we understand each other, you know, and I don't get that too often. So that's why I feel like a endangered species out here. I'm pretty alone culturally, you know. Not a lot of people understand where I come from. And over the years here in Germany, And in Spain, I've had to explain that a lot of times, and I don't feel bad about that, but you know, uh, the Chicano story history is not really well known in Europe, and you know, a lot of I've been called gringo so many times it's ridiculous. So you know, and that's because people, and the people who have called me gringo are Suramericanos, and that really hurt because you know, they don't understand our history, and so just because I've lived in the States, etc., they consider me gringo too, and so there's a lack of, we really need to spread the education somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it is. Right. It's funny you say that that because there's people that can't wait to leave and explore, you know, because they don't want to be in their in a place they're at, right? and
yeah,
and you're out there doing it, but you miss, the people that you can, relate to and you feel at home with. But there's people that are trying to get away from that. They don't want to be with their kind, you know and so it's not in your writings. Your writings, you're again, you're writing your truth. You're writing, what you grew up around, what you still have in your heart. So can you share some poetry with us from your book?
yeah. Let's do it. Um, just want me to start wherever, or
Wherever you'd like, whatever pieces you'd like to read.
let's see what I trip up on. Okay, I opened up right here. This will do. You need me to tell you what page I'm on, or you want to follow along? Okay. So eternal. They say you can hear my heart when I hear none, though its veins trickle out across the damp air to caress your hand. Our straight backs support bent skulls. As the festering bodies around us remain in denial, I intersect the sound, my blood rushing the sound of eternity. That's eternal. I haven't read that one in a long time. Something else? I lost audio again. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah. Read a
Okay,
few.
all right. How about this one? We got a short one here. Patience. The patient mosquitoes, to them I am not this or that, just limbs being torn off, the patient voices that echo as the bell tolls. I remember that. Quieta. A ti vengo, sin mis ojos, dulces sorpresas, quieta la sangre, sonriéndote de la oscuridad. How about this? Okay, we got mordiscos del alma. Brillante los dientes que me esperan y hambre que no quita, mordiscos del alma, culpando la tierra que cambia debajo de mis pies. Yeah, they're pretty short, eh?
There's an art to the short poem. you know um it's still longer than a haiku, but it's still shorter than your traditional long poem. But it still carries a lot of weight, and that's the beauty of your collection, that they're they don't need to be shorter than that, and they don't need to be longer than that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they say there's nothing extra. They're very efficient. Like I say what it is, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like it's not. I'm not trying to embellish. That's kind of like the thing. You know. There was something else that you. What do we got?
Read Memorias de Metal. Um, wait, I just feel like in that one, the
Hmm.
clouds. To me, it feels like if you stop the clouds and they waited for you to take in their detail before dissipating, and I really enjoyed reading that poem.
Memorias de metal, huh? Wow,
That was my translation. I think you were just fully aware of the moment.
wow. Okay, I read that for you. Ah, Memorias de metal. Mira cómo bailan las nubes, sus pisadas silenciosas y la frescura de su presencia acariciando la piel. Instantes que no paran y dulces besos. En mis manos, memorias de metal, de estructura y corazones. Oh, shit. Wow. It's a trip reading some of these because this is 10 years in the process, and I was at different places and processes in my life at the time. So um,
This was pre children. Your oldest is 7.
yeah, this is all pre-children. Yeah, the only children I had back then were my compositions. That's about it. Um, see if I can find one.
Going back and you said it. They're efficient, and it's like when you're putting up a work of art on the wall, using a metaphor, right? It's like putting up a really nice, piece of work on your wall. You only need a hammer and a nail. That's it. You don't need anything else. And that's what poetry does. Sometimes it doesn't need that much. It doesn't need length. Sometimes it doesn't need these big words. Sometimes it doesn't need, you know, explanation. Sometimes it just needs, you know, a few things to make it, you know, a great piece to have visually for someone that walks into a room. And that's how I I uh I see your collection, and going back to the way your collection came to me, and all that. um it it was a different collection that came to me, because I hadn't read anything like it in a while. I was getting different types of poetry, but I love that you stuck to either Spanish poetry or English in different verses. I think there were some that were a little code switched, but there was some that look like told your mind this one is going to be only in Spanish. And sometimes as a writer, we're we're struggling with the technicality of poetry when we're writing, because we're like, should I stick in a Spanish word in here, or your thinking at the moment is only in one language. Like, for example, for someone especially like me, that was born and raised in the United States, but I come from a family that's from, um, Latino America. Of course, it's I have both languages that I work with, but predominantly it's English. But I also want to share my heritage. But there's a lot of buts when writing. And so, when do you know it's only a Spanish poem you have to write for something? That's always something that's very interesting to me, where um, what
Mhm.
decided that to be a Spanish poem only? Did, did it just sound better, or did you write it in English first and then translate it to Spanish? Do you translate any of your poems, or do they just come to you that way?
No, I never translate any poems. I've never tried to. I've never thought about doing that. Um, I think it would lose. You know, I'm sure this happens to you too. Like my mother, my jefita, she would, even to this day, like certain words, she'll use Spanish always for that thing, you know? And and I remember growing up and I thought that was always so cool, like, and but for certain things or whatever, like maybe the shoes or something, it's always gonna be zapatos. She'll never say, pick up your shoes, pick up your zapatos. And it just it just sounds better that way somehow because you're used to it, like, it's that's just it became natural, no? And like there's long periods where I don't speak English. Here in Europe, we speak mainly Spanish at home, and like I try some, my kids speak English, and I have to make an effort to speak it English to them when I'm alone with them so that they practice. And they have some friends who speak English, but sometimes some things just have to be in Spanish. It just, and some things have to be in English. So I've never translated any poetry. It just comes out how it comes, like, because it felt natural, and and it's just how it has to be, like, you know.
Do you think l- we practice language with our children more as a survival tool than a than something that we need to teach them, I guess, so they learn to have as a, to keep up with their generation and keep up with their roots. Like, if, for example, your kids are in Germany and they grew up also in Spain, so but you speak Spanish, and I'm not sure if your wife speaks Spanish, or if she's from or where she's from, but you say you speak to them in Spanish, but they're living in Germany. So are they learning German? Are they learning English? Are they learning Spanish? Um, what language is it that you're, focusing on for them to, or let me just put it this way: is there a language that you feel they need to know for survival in the world?
Yeah, I think if you got your English and your Spanish, you're set pretty much worldwide, right? That's how, I mean, you can almost go anywhere if you have English and Spanish, right? um like here at home, the struggle is to keep the English going, right? Because we only speak Spanish. My wife is from Spain, and so we always speak Spanish. And so our rule at home is when I'm alone with the kids or wherever, if it's me, taking care of the kids, it's English, and then I make sure they watch all their cartoons in English, blah blah blah. There's certain cartoons they have to watch in Spanish because if not, it doesn't work for them.
Right.
But and German only at school, only at school. I don't. I I'm ashamed. It may sound bad, but I don't permit it at home. I think they have enough. We're in Germany, and they have enough German out in the street. So I mean, we know people here, and they haven't taught their kids any Spanish, and like they only know German, these kids, but they're, it's kind of like, I, you know, and as a survival tool, as a tool in general, as kids can do it, they can learn as many languages as you throw at them. So why would you not give them tools? They can only grow with that. It only opens more doors for them as people. So it is a survival tool,
Right. Yeah.
but it's lots of work.
It is. And they'll learn what they want to learn too once they get a little older, uh,
Yeah,
and they'll pick what matters to them, I guess, in the moment, right? And what their survival at the time is. But that's besides language, that's other things, right? Um, so another thing that I love about your collection is that I can open your book up to any page and read. um there's more souls for the soul in throughout. But when I did the reading through your manuscript, I did see that you had poems that linked well together as well in order. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I noticed that. I noticed that there were poems that went well together, and they kind of had that chain link to go. But I can open it up, like I said, from beginning to end, from end to beginning, and it's a quick read, but it's good, and it's all different. It's there's some collections where you read it and it's very it's kind of the same, where and we do that sometimes as poets, where we we're thematic. We use words a lot, and we see it throughout our own poetry. I've been one to notice that in some of my poetry, and I don't see that in yours, and that's what I love about it. Even though I said there's poems that link together, they don't link together in that way. They link together in a more metaphorical way, which is which is really really cool. So
yeah.
it, do you notice that about your writing, or did it just come out that way?
Um, well, it just came out that way, and and I did notice that about my writing. Uh, you know, like as you said, like in my music, there's a lot of stuff that is repetitive. Like, ah, man, I'm using that same chord again. It's because I like that chord so much. But because my process with writing was so different, and it was just so different that it came out like that. It came out like that. And it's strange though, because they all come from the todo viene del mismo fuente, ¿entiendes? It all comes from the same that same river flowing out there, and but somehow it's all different, no? You know, it's like the Amazon rainforest. Si lo ves de lejos, parece todo verde. Wow. But if you get really close, every single plant is different. You know, they're all the same entity, but at the same time they're not. So that's kind of how I feel about about the creative process, and everything comes from the same river, but they still have their own identity. Even though they could be referencing or expressing the same feeling. It's still it's such a limitless, undefinable world. No, it's not like our normal world. Everything here is limited and defined and planned. Blah blah blah. On the other side, everything is limitless and undefinable, And that's what defines it at the same time, no? Those qualities, no? So that's something I really I like to bathe in those waters. That's where I like to be. This normal world where, I don't think, you know what I think? I think this normal world of limits and rules and definition and all these things, that's the human world. And I don't think it's the right world for us as human beings. I think it's exactly what's killing us as human beings. It's what keeps us out of the circle of life, the natural circle of life, what makes us almost a parasite in this existence, no? We've become a parasitic life form because we're not flowing with the life energy, you know? And so my writing is trying to stay there where we belong. The animals know it naturally. They don't mess with it. It's like someone said, we're the only ones who pay rent. We're the only species that pay rent. Ching, wow, that's some crazy shit. Ooh,
That's true.
we're
Yeah.
the only species that pay rent, man. That if you start thinking along those lines, you realize, oh man, what's really going on.
Yeah. I heard something else similar to that, where we're the only species that take back our young when they leave.
Shit.
Hey,
Yeah.
now going back to the rivers that we come from, you come from a very you come from a river of writers. Your mother is a writer,
Hmm.
your father are writers, is a
Yeah.
writer.
Hmm.
Tell us about your mother and father as writers growing up, and how they influenced you, or if you became more of your own type of writer.
Wow. Well, let me put it this way. Um, when we had a garage, our garage was wall to wall books to be read, right? That my parents had read or were reading, wall to wall books, and you can get to those books sometimes because the floor was covered in boxes full of books of my father and my mother. You couldn't get across the garage because there were just stacks of boxes full of books. And that's when they had a maize press, no? They were self-producing maize press. And I remember those boxes all the time. And sometimes I would look in the boxes like if I was gonna find a chocolate or something, and it was just the books, And so
Book
that's
book, the same book, the same
yeah,
book.
the same book. I pick up another. Yeah, I look just in case. I look. It's the same book, and that would trip me out too. Why would they have the same book over and over? And yeah, I mean that was the kind of. I was really lucky because I grew up in an environment that was full of um, I was exposed to so much music and different types of music and writing, and there was always we were always visiting murals, and there was always painters there, that came by the house, other writers, musicians, and for me, I thought that was normal, and like the books my father and my mother had, I'd trip out sometimes reading those books, and even before I would read them, I would look at the pictures, and that was like, what, you know. It seemed like I was reading like magic books a lot of the time, like these are magic books, because they weren't anything like the books you'd see in school. Like those books, you couldn't get them nowhere except from my garage. So yeah, that's a kind of we grew up in a time when there was still lots of protesting going on, no? And so I was, as a child, at a lot of protests when the police came and stuff, and they were starting to hit people or whatever. I remember stuff. I remember being on the merry-go-round and my father up on the podium, like, in Logan Heights, and the people, yeah, casino, and the police coming. I remember just keeping going on the merry-go-round and just like, oh, about this, you know. So I was exposed to this kind of upbringing, and I thought it was normal. Yeah, it's a trip. You know, my both my parents always reading, always music blaring, always. Right. Yeah,
So
that's the best education.
that's where you got your music and your writing, your the music
Yeah, man.
in the books.
I think they used to put Miles Davis on all the time when I was really young. I still remember that, and I think that messed me up because my idea of normal is not. I realize it's not normal for a lot of people. So that's also been a struggle. It's been a curse too. Some of these things I've been lucky in so many ways. To be exposed to a lot of stuff, and I'm happy about it. But it's caused me a lot of suffering too, because you know um, coming up with people who come up with different out of the ordinary upbringings, they really feel outside of the norm all the time. You know what I mean? Like we never fit. People like me, we've never fit into a group. I've always been in my own group, kind of thing. And it's because of my upbringing. Even amongst the Chicanos and Mexicanos at my school, I was pretty out there for them. Like I was reading. With 14 years old, I was reading very political books and poetry. When I was 14, I was studying all these different religions at the same time for no reason, like who knows why. And nobody was doing that, and that's because I was exposed to stuff early on, and it seemed like, yeah, you should check this out. You know, and a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people don't get that chance. You know, so I'm very grateful for that. Bringing the exposure to literature and art
And it's different, it is a different type of upbringing when the arts are involved. It's dynamic, but it could also be very controversial, and it could also be but it's very fulfilling, you know um because you become well rounded, and you become a thinker. You become outspoken, and there's so many things. You're not limited, and I think that when you're going through the process of learning all those things that I'm naming, all the list, it seems kind of jarring, and it sometimes feels like it's not the right thing, but it's just, it's food for the soul. That, like, now that you're a grown man, and you have your family and stuff, you look back and you're like, I appreciated everything that I went through, and you've used it in your life. you know you've used everything you've read, you've used everything you've listened to, you've used all the good you've seen and all the bad you've seen, and you've molded your own, into your own, you know being, and and create it, you know living it. You live it through your music, and through your writings. And that's just, I think, the way uh art works, and how important it is to keep it going in our schools, and everywhere else.
ooh, wow. Yeah, what's been going on in the States the last couple of years is just, in terms of education, arts, it's just, we watch it all from afar and we just can't believe it sometimes. It's just amongst all the other craziness that's happened. So, but you know, it's like chess. regarding that. It's like chess. They're positioning the pieces. I play a lot of chess, so I know that making taking good position and preparation is everything. And they're taking up position. So yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
killing the education and the arts is the first thing you do. It's
yeah,
like it's like it's like cutting people at the knees. So
yep, yep. Well, it's what? It's going to be 1 o'clock here in our
yeah,
Central Standard Time. So it's going to be what, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock your time?
almost 8 o'clock in the evening. Yeah.
Almost 8 o'clock. So why don't you close us off with some reading? Read us a few poems. This is his book here, Blooming Blood, available at flowersongpress.com. And we'll let you get back to your evening. And thank you. It's been good talking, and we need to keep in touch. Appreciate you so much.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Should I drop one or what?
Yeah.
Is you want to choose one or just whatever comes out?
Read what you want.
Okay. Try to get a quick one here. Mm, I don't remember what I read before. Hold up. I got a couple short ones here. I don't think I read these. I'll give it a shot. How about we try this one first? Howling. Howling. In darkness, your melodic howling continues, hypnotic repetition, a clock of expression, quieting the conditioned self. It's howling. I remember when I wrote that. Now I remember all of a sudden. That's crazy. Um, this is a short one. Lejanos. Lejanos respiros y las cosas que corren en mis venas quemando, las cosas que los dioses de acero no roban. Gritando infancia. Esto era después que yo vi la cara del agua estancada y ocupado creyendo cosas que no nos hace falta, emociones que muerden, que lloran, gritando infancia, afilaos son los momentos. Y esos son los bichos que naden sobre el superficie. You have time for one more?
Go for it.
All right. I don't think I read this. Invisible chains. Attached to sight, discrimination waits its turn, patiently twiddling its thumbs, darting eyes, hope to exhaust the fear, starting over, we excel in its repetition, invisible chains, invisible security, my body rotting on the seashore as I sit there calmly watching. Ahí lo tiene.
Gracias. And thanks to
Tío,
everyone.
a ti.
Thanks to everyone who joined us and who's watching on live. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you all later.
Buenas noches.
I'm going to put this on YouTube and put it on live in other mediums. So say thank you to
All right.
everybody. Gracias a
All right.
todos.
Ciao. Hasta pronto.